Alright guys, what is up? We have another fantasy football YouTube video for you today. Today we have ranking wide receivers for week 10 and a tier chart. I'm not going to waste any of your guys' time. Please make sure to like, subscribe, share the video. Alright, for our first wide receiver, we have Tyreek Hill. We have Tyreek Hill versus the Cleveland Browns. Tyreek has 76 receptions, 1,104 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's been absolutely just going crazy, like no doubt about it. He is the wide receiver 1 for fantasy. He's playing Cleveland, which is 15th in passing, middle of the pack, giving up 208 yards. This is an automatic start if you have Tyreek Hill. Alright. For our wide receiver 2 this week, we have Stefon Diggs versus Minnesota. Minnesota is 27th in passing, giving up 256 passing yards per game. Diggs has 60 receptions, 857 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns. If you have Stefon Diggs, it's an automatic start. Looks like Josh Allen got injured near the end of the game in the New York Giants game, but I think he's coming back. I think he'll be fine. Stefon Diggs has insane touchdown upside, so if you have him, you're obviously starting him. He's projected 19 fantasy points this week. For my wide receiver 3 of the week, I have Justin Jefferson versus Buffalo. Buffalo 7th in passing, only giving up 194 passing yards. Justin Jefferson has 59 receptions, 867 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns. If you have Justin Jefferson, you're automatically starting him. I feel like this might be a game where he scores 2 touchdowns. Going off of that win on the Commanders was big. You see Kirk Cousins getting hyped up. You see everyone getting hyped up. They have their confidence up. Everything's going good in Minnesota. I like them coming out of this, and he's projected 15 fantasy points. I feel like that projection is just going to go up. So if you have them, start them. For my 4th wide receiver, I have Cooper Kupp versus Arizona. Arizona's 25th in passing, giving up 254 passing yards per game. Kupp has 72 receptions, 813 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns. The reason I ranked Cooper Kupp so low and he's not in the top 3 is because Arizona is known for shutting down wide receiver 1s. So that means they're going to have to pass the ball to other people during this game. Arizona's 25th in passing, so that means they can definitely gain receiving yards through the wide receiver 2, 3, and tight end. And also, Cooper Kupp wouldn't had a good game versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if you took out that one play where he went like 70 yards on a little out route where he got behind the corner. So honestly, I'm starting him at 4. I feel like this might be a little bit more accurate than 1, 2, or 3. For my number 5 wide receiver, I have Davante Adams versus the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are 6th. For my wide receiver number 5, I have Davante Adams versus the Indianapolis Colts. Adams has 48 receptions, 658 yards, and 7 touchdowns. His 7 touchdowns gives him extremely high touchdown upside. He's playing Indianapolis, which they are giving up 192 passing yards per game. They're 6th in the league, so that makes them a little bit higher than middle of the pack. But Davante has just been going crazy, even though they've been losing games. So if you have him, you're obviously going to start him. Davante was one of your 1st or 2nd round picks, so I feel good starting him right here for sure. So play him. For my wide receiver number 6, I have A.J. Brown versus the Washington Commanders. Washington is 18th in passing, giving up 217 yards per game. A.J. Brown has 43 receptions, 718 rushing yards, and 6 touchdowns. Is projected 14 points this week. I think this could either be way over his 14-point projection or under his 14-point projection, because you might have a multiple touchdown game out of A.J. Brown. You just really don't know. There's so many good targets in Philadelphia. It's hard to see when he's going to have those multiple touchdown games and when he's not going to have. But I like him at 6. He's playing the Commanders, so that's an automatic start. Alright guys, for my wide receiver number 7, I'm going Hopkins versus the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are 17th in passing, giving up 214 passing yards per game. Hopkins has 26 receptions, 298 yards, and 2 touchdowns, only in 3 games. He's projected 13 points. they don't really have a good matchup this game, honestly, because Ramsey's going to be on him. But still, Hopkins is a #1 receiver. Hollywood Brown went out. That helps him. James Conner's back, which slightly does decrease him. That's why he's not in the 6th. He's in the 7th. But I believe this is a great place to start him, and I would start him if you have him. For my wide receiver number 8, I have Chris Olave versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is 31st in passing, giving up 277 yards. Olave has 43 receptions, 618 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's projected 12 points. I think this projection is way too low. I think, honestly, the Saints are going to come in, they're going to dominate. The Steelers aren't going to be able to score, and I just think this is going to be a domination game for the Saints. The Pittsburgh Steelers suck right now. Everybody's passing over them. They're 31st in passing, so I see Olave getting over 10 targets this game, 100%. And Michael Thomas going out for the year helps. Jarvis Landry still dealing with injury helps. That's automatic wide receiver 1 right there, room. For my wide receiver 9, I have Jalen Waddle versus the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are 15th in passing, giving up 208 yards. Waddle has 47 receptions, 812 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns. He's projected 14 points in this match. Jalen Waddle has been absolutely amazing. But the thing we're scared to admit is Tyreek Hill is the #1 target in Miami. And the only way this is going to work, if Tyreek Hill stops getting targets, he's guarded. Waddle is that separation guy. He's going to get open. He's going to grab those targets. That's why we really like Waddle. Anywhere else, he'd be a wide receiver 1. But I think this is a good place for Waddle. The only reason he isn't in my wide receiver 8 is because Olave is playing Pittsburgh. Alright guys, for my wide receiver number 10, I have St. Brown versus Chicago. Chicago's 10th in passing, giving up 200 yards passing per game. St. Brown has 39 receptions, 400 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's projected 12 points. This might be a little bit of a stretch putting him up in the B tier with all these players, but I think Chicago and Detroit might have a shootout. They might. I think it's like a 50-50 might be a shootout. If they do have a shootout, we're going to see a little bit more targets going to St. Brown. So I do like St. Brown, and I think he may score during this matchup. For my wide receiver number 11, I have CeeDee Lamb versus the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers are 2nd in passing, giving up 190 yards. CeeDee Lamb has 42 receptions, 556 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I really do like Lamb, but it's hard to rank him higher than this when he is playing Green Bay. Even though their offense sucks, their defense is really, really good, only giving up the 2nd in the league, which is 170 yards. I would like to start Lamb higher, but I just can't do it. Green Bay's offense has been terrible, but I think they might start a new quarterback. I don't even think they're gonna start a new quarterback. When we go to Packers receivers later on in the video, I'll explain that. But he is projected 14 points. For my wide receiver 12, I have Mike Evans for Seattle. Seattle is 20th in passing, giving up 225 passing yards per game. Evans has 44 receptions, 617 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's projected 12 points in this matchup. I didn't start Evans last week. I actually started Josh Palmer. I had a good feeling about Josh Palmer. They were missing Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Had to start Josh Palmer. Again, Mike Williams had 5 or 6 drop passes, clearly drop passes in this game, with Tom Brady throwing them perfectly well. I think Evans is playing through injury 100%. He has a rib injury and he has an ankle injury. So I don't know if I'm starting Evans this week. He's just ranked this high because his upside. For my wide receiver number 13, I have Amari Cooper versus Miami. Miami's 23rd in passing, giving up 223 passing yards per game. Amari has 39 receptions, 553 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2.5 fantasy points projected. Amari Cooper's definitely looked way better than I thought he would. You have Deshaun Watson coming in soon for these Cleveland Browns. Is it going to make Amari Cooper better or worse? I think, honestly, Deshaun Watson could be washed. He could be washed. But I think it's only improvement from here, honestly, with Jacoby Brissett. Because Jacoby hasn't been doing well. He's been doing okay. He's definitely been doing okay, but it's more focused on the Nick Chubb. It's just all Nick Chubb. A little bit of Kareem Hunt in there. I was surprised Kareem Hunt didn't get traded, but I have Amari Cooper ranked here. Tell me your thoughts, because I don't know. For my number 14th wide receiver, I have Deebo Samuel versus the LA Chargers. The LA Chargers are 14th in passing, giving up 206 yards per game. Deebo has 32 receptions, 387 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's projected 13 points. If Deebo Samuel is fully healthy, put him in this 14th spot. If he's not, he's going to go lower. Already hurts because Kittle is coming on. They're not using him as a blocker anymore. You got Christian McCaffrey coming there, and you also have Brandon Ayuk stealing targets. It's so hard to start Deebo right now. I can't believe I drafted Deebo. I'm sad that I drafted Deebo. The Jeff Wilson trade did help Deebo a little bit, because when Christian McCaffrey is not taking snaps, Deebo most likely will be in the backfield. But that is the only upside with Deebo. He's not really a long shot target either. That is honestly Brandon Ayuk right now. It's hard to say it, but it is. Alright guys, for my number 15th wide receiver, this is very controversial. This is a very controversial spot. I put Josh Palmer versus San Francisco. San Francisco's 8th in passing, giving up 200 passing yards per game. Palmer has 34 receptions, 346 yards, and 1 touchdown. He's projected 10 points. I started Josh Palmer last week. He got 14.6 half PPR points. I started him over Mike Evans. So that is definitely good for me. I feel like Josh Palmer is going to do great right here. I don't know if he's going to score this game. I feel like a 100-yard game is coming, so that's still 14 points and half PPR. I don't know if he's going to score. If Keenan Allen is out, which Keenan Allen's hamstrings still haven't healed. If he is out, then you're starting Palmer, because Mike Williams is already out, and Austin Eckler is a little bit banged up, he said. So if you have Josh Palmer, start him at this position. For my wide receiver number 16, I have Chris Godwin versus Seattle. Seattle is 20th in passing, giving up 225 yards. Chris Godwin has 42 receptions, 404 yards, and a whopping 0 touchdowns. He's projected to get 12 points. I feel like Seattle's going to take this one over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I feel like they're going to take this one, and they're going to take it by 2 touchdowns or more. I could be wrong. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are coming off a win against the LA Rams. But Chris Godwin just hasn't performed. He's caught a lot of passes. He's got a lot of yards and stuff, but he hasn't performed in the touchdown area, and that's where we need them most. A lot of Tampa Bay Buccaneers haven't performed in the touchdown area. For my number 17th wide receiver, I have Tyler Lockett versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is 5th in passing, giving up 187 yards per game. Lockett has 51 receptions, 600 yards, and 4 total touchdowns. He's projected 11 points. If you drafted Tyler Lockett, you're just looking amazing. Honestly, you are just looking amazing. This was definitely a great draft pick. Tyler Lockett has been playing great. He's been playing better than DK Metcalf. I'm sorry to say it. But you're just looking good. I don't know if this place is the correct place for Tyler Lockett or it's a little bit deeper, but this is where I have him rostered. For my number 18th wide receiver, I have Juju Smith-Schuster versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville is 22nd in passing, giving up 238 yards. 44 receptions for Juju, 482 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. You might be thinking this is way too high for Juju to rank him. I think Juju's going to have a good game this week. I have a gut feeling that Juju's going to do well. Juju has been performing pretty well, but I feel like he's going to perform this game. He's going to catch some deep targets. He's going to catch some first downs. Travis Kelce did good last game. He didn't do the best. He looked very frustrated. So I think Juju may be the main target during this game. For my number 19th wide receiver, I have Allen Lazard versus. For my wide receiver number 19, I have Allen Lazard versus the Dallas Cowboys. Lazard has 30 receptions, 427 yards, and 5 touchdowns. They're facing Dallas, which is 4th in the league, giving up 178 passing yards per game. That's it. Everyone keeps saying, Lazard's situation's going to get so much better, but it's not even close to getting better. You have Jordan Love possibly coming in, which I don't even think he's coming in. Aaron Rodgers has to lose at least 2 more games for Jordan Love to come in. Jordan Love has barely played at an NFL level, and you're saying he's going to be better than Aaron Rodgers? I don't think so. Even though Aaron Rodgers isn't playing good right now, that doesn't mean he's not going to start playing good. Aaron Rodgers is easily an MVP, so that's a little bit of upside right there. And Allen Lazard is banged up, and the wide receivers are coming back that's banged up. He was dealing with a shoulder injury, so I don't think his situation even gets close to getting better. And then you have rumors of them trying to get Odell Beckham Jr., so I really don't. For my 20th wide receiver, I have DJ Moore versus Atlanta. Atlanta is dead last, giving up 300 yards. DJ Moore has 35 receptions, 419 yards, and 3 touchdowns. If Baker Mayfield plays in this game, I think this is going to benefit DJ Moore. And a lot of you won't agree with me, but I think Baker is definitely getting settled in the offense. He's realizing that either he's going to be the backup or the starter, and he's going to be thankful for both. So he has to go out there and make plays since Baker Mayfield ruined his career. Moore is an all-star wide receiver. He is just getting his prime ruined by the Panthers. But I think this is a great place for DJ Moore. I think we're expecting a boom game. He's only projected 10 fantasy points. If you have DJ Moore, play him. For my number 22 wide receiver, we have Metcalf versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is 5th in passing, giving up 187 passing yards. Metcalf has 42 receptions, 510 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. He's projected 10 points. Honestly, though, Metcalf looks like the wide receiver 2 for the Seattle Seahawks. Tyler Lockett just looks amazing right now. That's why Metcalf is so low. Each tier list, I've seen Metcalf lower than Tyler Lockett, so I got to agree with them on this one. For my number 22 wide receiver, we have Metcalf versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is 5th in passing, giving up 187 passing yards. Metcalf has 42 receptions, 510 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. He's projected 10 points. Honestly, though, Metcalf looks like the wide receiver 2 for the Seattle Seahawks. Tyler Lockett just looks amazing right now. That's why Metcalf is so low. Each tier list, I've seen Metcalf lower than Tyler Lockett, so I got to agree with them on this one. For my wide receiver number 23, I have Christian Kirk versus Kansas City. Kansas City is 24th in passing, giving up 250 yards. Kirk has 43 receptions, 574 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He's projected only 8 points this week. So everything in Jacksonville is built around ETN. And ETN might not be able to run the ball. I don't think he's going to be able to run the ball because Kansas City is going to go up so big on this Jacksonville's defense, they're going to be forced to throw the ball. They are 24th in passing, and Christian Kirk is their number 1 target by far. So that gives Christian Kirk a lot more upside than you think. That's why I ranked him 23. Alright guys, for my 24th wide receiver, I have Terry McLaurin versus Philly. Philly is 3rd in passing, giving up 177 passing yards per game. McLaurin has 38 receptions, 609 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Washington Commanders look terrible. Honestly, I'm just being honest. They look absolutely terrible. They looked better this week versus the Vikings, but I don't know if there's much you can do to fix their quarterback situation. You know, you have the new guy coming in. He's doing a little bit better than Carson Wentz was doing. I really like that McLaurin did score in that game, or that was the game before, but I can't put McLaurin any higher than this. He's projected 8 fantasy points this week. Alright guys, for my 25th wide receiver, I have Michael Pittman Jr. versus the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders are 26th in passing, giving up 255 yards per game. Pittman has 45 receptions, 550 yards, and 1 touchdown. He's projected 10 fantasy points. Guys, the touchdown upside isn't there. They just benched Matt Ryan. They have Hillinger coming in. He is doing absolutely terrible. No better than Matt Ryan. Didn't even throw for a touchdown this game. And you have Matt Saturday coming in that's on ESPN that's never coached college football or NFL football. They're just throwing their season away. But if Michael Pittman Jr. is going to do good in one of these games, it might be against the Las Vegas Raiders. They're 26th in passing, and their defense does look terrible, and they've blown so many leads. I see the Raiders going up early, then blowing a lead against the Colts, and then winning the game though. For my number 26 wide receiver, I have Gabe Davis versus Minnesota. Minnesota is 27th in passing, giving up 256 yards. Davis has 18 receptions, 451 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's projected 9 fantasy points. I think they are going to do really good against Minnesota. They love to pass the ball, and I think they're just going to do good. Josh Allen is probably not injured. If Josh Allen plays in this game, Gabe Davis goes way up in the rankings. Gabe Davis, if Stephon Diggs isn't open, Davis is down there somewhere. Against the Steelers, that was the whole thing. Davis is down there somewhere. So that's why I have Gabe Davis a little bit lower than he should because of the Josh Allen injury. For my 27th wide receiver, I have Devontae Smith versus Washington. Washington is 18th in passing, giving up 219 yards per game. Smith has 40 receptions, 442 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's projected 10 points. Devontae Smith, I think Philly is just going to blow over Washington. So if he doesn't get a touchdown early, then I don't think he is going to get a touchdown. And I think A.J. Brown is going to take that touchdown early, possibly Dallas Goedert or Miles Sanders. After they're up by 21, they're just going to run it. Because they did what they did to Pittsburgh and they got a little bit of backlash for that, like why were you still throwing and stuff. So I think they're going to stop throwing. They're not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where they need to increase Tom Brady's stats. Jalen Hurts isn't at that level yet. For my 28th wide receiver, I have Rondale Moore versus the Rams. They're 17th in passing, giving up 214 yards. Rondale Moore has 32 receptions, 320 yards, and 1 touchdown, and he is projected 9 points this week. Rondale Moore and this offense is their wide receiver too. There's not much to it. They're playing good though. They could play better, the Cardinals. So I see Rondale Moore sitting at 28. For my 29th wide receiver, this is going to be a little bit controversial. I have George Pickens versus the Saints. The Saints are 9th in passing, giving up 200 passing yards per game. Pickens has 26 receptions for 338 yards and 1 touchdown. He's projected 8 points. In this Pittsburgh offense, he's definitely the wide receiver 1. If you've watched the games, you do know this. Devontae Johnson isn't getting much target share, and we just traded away Chase Claypool. So I see Pickens definitely number 1 receiver. Kenny Pickett is starting to make his way in, like everyone said he would, and I think he's doing much better. But Devontae Johnson and George Pickens, they're back-to-back. So 29, wide receiver 29 and 30. I didn't rank Johnson. They're definitely back-to-back though. I have Jerry Jeudy as my wide receiver number 30, but I honestly have no clue. He can go in my top 15. I have no clue what to expect out of him, so I'm going to let you guys rank him. He's playing the Tennessee Titans. They're 30th in passing, giving up almost 270 yards per game. Jeudy has 30 receptions, 449 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's projected 10 points. Jeudy has a ton of upside if Russell Wilson gets it going. Russell Wilson has been horrific. He hasn't been able to hit receivers. He hasn't been able to run offense at all. He's been horrific. This is the worst we've seen out of Russell Wilson in a very long time. But Jerry Jeudy, you guys rank him. He's definitely the wide receiver 1 over Courtland Sutton. But this is our last wide receiver, so make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share, guys. It means so much. Just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure to share. Guys, thank you so much for watching. This means so much. Go back and watch my other videos if you guys want to. I'm here for fantasy advice. Comment whatever fantasy advice you have and I will answer.